Hello everyone, I'm Aldona. Today I want to talk about forward folds and flat back. So usually what happens from our standing position, we get into some sort of flexion. So we basically are folding our bodies in half, well, maybe not in half, but we are collapsing our torso down over our legs in some sort of a forward fold. And I wanted to go over a few things there because depending on your flexibility in your hamstrings or your flexibility in your low back, you're going to notice that your forward fold does not look like the person beside you. So there are a couple of options that you can work on or work at. There are different levels that you can work at until you create some more space in your low back, your spine, your hamstrings, your glutes, all of those things that are required. You need those muscles to get into your forward fold. So your forward folds don't necessarily work your bicep. They kind of work your low back, hamstring, down in that area. You might even notice that it's going to pull on in your ankles and whatnot. So again, your forward fold, it's one of those things in your practice. Once we start putting our flows together, you're going to notice that we do a lot of forward folds. Forward folds they're very beneficial to unlock that low back area where your tail is. Remember we talked about our kitty cat and our puppy dog tail? That area for a lot of people is tight, it's jammed, it causes imbalances in that neutral spine that we're not even aware of. Many people have low back issues and they don't even know that they have low back issues. Many people have that prominent, oh man, you know, my low back hurts. You hear that a lot. So forward folding and getting to your flat back, very similar to cat-cows. It's a nice, easy, uncomplicated. It's an uncomplicated movement that you can do with your body to try to unlock. So what usually happens is from a standing position, from, let's say, mountain pose. Let's say we're going into some sort of half sun salutations. You would be going from mountain pose. You'd be taking your inhale, taking your arms up overhead, and then you would be doing some sort of flexion. Now, what I do want to point out is a few things that you can be mindful in your body. So I'm going to be turning kind of both ways so that you can see. I do have a couple of blocks here just to show you that it can be an option for those people who are like really tight in their hamstrings and have a difficult time actually getting their hand or fingertip to touch the floor, because we would like our hand, some part of our hand, fingertip, maybe the entire hand one time, we would like that to be touching the floor. Now, that's not accessible for everybody, so the block might help you make that accessible, because we don't really want our arms just kind of dangling there, because that's it's wasted energy, and you kind of want to constantly have a connection. You want to close that circle, basically. So you don't just want to have something loosey-goosey all over the place. So if you're not able to actually touch the floor, we can use the blocks. There are a couple of options, and that's what we're going to go over. So when you are doing your flexion, basically you are hinging. I want you to try to be mindful of where you're starting to do your hinge from. When you're standing, are you hinging from your belly, from your waist? Are you the type of person that starts to naturally curve just in your belly? Yeah, I'm just collapsing here in my belly area, in my waist area. That's not exactly the best thing that you want for your low back, because that might feel a little jammy. So once you get your extension in your spine from your mountain pose, remember you stacked up everything and you got your best, straightest perfect alignment. From there, you want to hinge from your hip. So basically the crease where your leg kind of inserts into that rectangle torso, that crease, that's where you're trying to hinge from, yeah? So I'm going to turn to the side a little bit and hopefully you can see where I'm hinging from. So I would be in my mountain pose. I'm not going to use my hands up over my head right now because I'm going to point to where we're hinging. So normally your arms would go up overhead. That would be your inhale. And then once you start your exhale, you want to engage that belly, just like when we were in cat-cows. I want to engage that belly, not so much that I'm sucking everything in and it's really uncomfortable and then you can't breathe. So engage it slightly and then hinge from that hip crease. So belly engaged, I'm going to pretend my arms are up overhead or lifted, and from this hinge hip, that's where I'm going to start my flexion. So I'd like to try to keep that neutral spine back there, yeah? Basically what we call flat back, which is not 100% straight. It's got that natural curve, yeah? Remember? So I have my natural curve going on there. I've engaged my belly slightly, not so much that I'm puffing everything. I'm hinging from my hip crease and I'm going forward. I'm drawing my belly in and I'm hinging, hinging, hinging. And I'm doing this in my exhale. So I'm kind of hollowing out gently in my belly. I don't want to draw it in so much that I can't breathe. I still want to be breathing when I'm doing this, but I'm creating a little bit more space, yeah? As I draw gently in, I'm creating space. So you still want that little bit of feeling, yeah? So as I hinge, I'm going to start noticing a few things in my body. So as I hinge, I'm going to start feeling a pull somewhere. And usually your tightest spot is what's going to start pulling the first. So I might notice that, ooh, I feel this in my back. And then you have to decide, well, is it just a gentle pull? Can I handle it? Or is it knife stabbing me back, in the back type of, I don't want that. So as I'm hinging, I might notice, oh, that's it, you know, there's my back, that's it, that's all I got. Maybe I feel it in my hamstrings. Wherever you're feeling it, you want to judge where is going to be your forward fold on any particular day. The forward fold, yes, we want to, in general, increase how much we fold. So one day, yeah, I would literally like to fold my body from my hinge in half so that my torso, my chest, is kind of like laying on top of my thighs. Is it going to happen the first time you do a forward fold? Unlikely. For some of you, yeah, maybe you're pretty open in the hamstrings and the low back and you're able to do it. And if you can do it on your first go right ahead. However, most of us cannot, so these are some of your options. So as I'm going down, I might notice I've created some space in my belly. I have my neutral flat back, we call it flat back, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to go down until where I can go. Now you're going to start noticing a few things. So you might have to come out of this to watch the video, or because you're feeling a little comfortable. So by all means, if you have to come back up to stand, to give yourself a little wiggle jiggle and come back into it, by all means, go do what you need to do. So I've come to my forward fold, and right away I notice that, oh, my hands don't exactly, they don't have the capability of touching the floor just yet. I might, maybe next week, next month, but right now they can't touch the floor. So I can use my blocks. If I notice that, oh, that little space that I have between my fingertips and the floor is about the size of my block, and remember, I could have lots of heights. for my block, yeah? So I'm gonna go really high here, just in case you're the type of person who can't forward fold very deeply just yet. So I've come to my forward fold, and then look, I can have my fingertips touching the floor. Sorry, right now they're touching the block. So I still have that connection. I can still feel supported. I can feel the ground is being lifted. So the ground is higher because I'm on a block. So I'm not really on the ground, I'm on the block. But I can feel that support. I can feel secure in my forward fold. Now, you might be the type of person goes, I can't even get that far. And that's okay. So let's pretend you've taken your inhale, you've lengthened your spine, you're coming down into your forward fold, but you get up here and you go, I'm nowhere close to anything. So we still want to connect somehow. We don't just want those arms to be all loosey-goosey. So I can't quite reach what I've got for my prop. I'm going to just use my body parts as a prop. So my hands are dangling, but I don't really want them dangling. So I'm literally am just going to use my other arm. I'm kind of reaching for the elbow, and I've closed the circle. Now my fingers aren't just dangling, they are actually connecting to another body part. So this might be your forward fold. It might be quite high. So eventually we are trying to not be this high, but possibly be a little lower. Now the lower and lower we get, we might notice that we need to have a little bit of a bend in our knee because maybe our hamstrings are tight. So if you notice that the top part of your spine is okay, you can kind of get down there low, and then all of a sudden it's your hamstrings that are tight, go ahead and soften them a little bit so that you can get your hand to connect to something, the block or the floor. So you might notice that, you know what, that's a little bit too hard, and you're still using the hand to elbow, and you might notice I need a very generous bend in my knee because I'm really jammed up and I'm really tight. Look, I can connect my elbows to kind of the tops of my knees. My knees are generously bent, but I'm still trying to lengthen out my spine. So my forward fold might actually look like this. It's for those of you who are really tight in the hamstrings and really tight in the low back. So don't worry if you can't get anywhere close to the floor. You can use this option. Yeah? So once again, this would be all with your exhale. Now, let's say that you can. I'm going to turn it just for a variety. I'm going to go here. I'm going to notice that from my mountain pose, I was able to stack. I'm taking my breath in, and as I start my exhale, remember, I'm engaging the belly. I'm lifting out from the floor. I'm not really lifting my feet up off the floor, but I'm thinking up and over. Again, my knees can be soft because usually your first forward fold, you're a little tight. So I'm going to pretend that I need a bent knee. I'm able to get to the floor. I can touch something. I got my blocks here. And then I'm trying to relax my head. This is where everybody's hair looks really silly. I'm trying not to keep my head engaged. I do that a lot because I'm usually talking and looking at, other people. However, that's not what I want. As a participant, I want to relax my head. And I might even give it the head that little bobble, that little wiggle jiggle, so that my head is trying to naturally go closer to the floor. Yeah? So eventually I would like to get the top of my head to be going towards the floor. Now, I may not be there just yet. I might notice that my forward fold, the top of my head is aiming more towards the front of the mat. But eventually I'd like to get it closer and closer, aiming to the bottom, towards the floor. So again here, my knees are soft because my hamstrings are tight. I'm touching something and I'm relaxing my head. I'm relaxing my neck. I'm trying to lengthen my spine. Think of your spine now spilling from the low back. That's the highest part right now. Yeah, that's the part that's facing the sky. And now my spine is spilling towards the mat, kind of over my head. So that would be our forward fold. That would all be exhale. So remember, your hands eventually are going to be flat on the floor. Maybe not just yet, but that's where we're going. Now from our forward fold, we are going to come up to what we call our flat back. So I'm going to take my hands from whatever they are touching, floor, block, each other. I'm going to take them up onto my leg. So I'm going to drag them from wherever they are. I'm going to crawl up my leg, and I'm using my inhale to do that. So now with my inhale, I'm lifting my torso back up towards the sky to get to that flat, neutral spine. And when I say flat, it's not 100% flat. However, we're working on that. I'm lifting to get to relatively, I'd say your first one is parallel to the floor. That's kind of a good goal to try to get. Can I get parallel to the floor so that I can check out in my head, are my legs extended? So if I had bent knees before, are they a little straighter? Yeah? Not locked, but straighter. Is my spine down here from my tail towards the top of my head, is the spine lengthening? So that's where we talk about that string. I got a string on the top of my head and it's being pulled away towards the front of the mat, and I got another string on my tail and it's being pulled to the back of the mat. So I've got pull in one direction, pull in the other direction. I'm trying to lengthen out my spine. Yeah? So in my flat back, I'm coming up as far as I need to come up to get that sensation. Straighter legs, long spine. I'm using my hands to push into my thighs. And I'm using my legs for a little bit of support so that I can try to open up my collarbone a little bit more. I'm trying to roll my shoulders back. I'm trying to open up the front side of my body just that little bit more. Now, where do your hands need to be? Well, it depends on how much space you have. You might notice that you can have your hands pretty low towards your ankles and still have a flat back. Right now, my hands are at my ankles, but my back is pretty curved. So that's not the best hand position for me right now. If I come up a little higher, I can flatten out my back a little bit more. You might be the person who has to come all the way up here to get that flat back, to get that sensation that you're opening up the collarbone, yeah? You're lengthening your spine, remember those two strings, but you're no longer parallel with the floor. You had to come up higher because you were tight, you were jammed. So this might be your flat back. You might have to come up quite high, and that's fine until you're working towards lower and lower and lower. This might be where you need to be. So that would have been my inhale. I'm coming up, I'm lifting my torso, I'm opening up the front side of my body to get my flat back. And then I'm going back down. So exhaling, belly engaged, start to hollow out your belly, lift out of the ground. You're not really lifting, but think, lift, and then fold again. This is your exhale. And maybe this fold, you notice, oh, I just got a little deeper. Ta-da! So your exhale, your forward fold, you're going to notice that your second forward fold is going to be different from your first one. And your third one's going to be different, and your fourth one's going to be different. Each forward fold, we're looking to create that space in our low back. We're looking to create that space in our spine. We're looking to create that space in our hamstrings. Yeah? So maybe you got a little further. Yay! So now I'm going to take my inhale and come back up. I'm opening up the front side of the body. Did I need to come up as high as I did the last time? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe I'm able to stay a little down, a little closer to the floor, but still get all of those sensations. A nice long leg, an open collarbone, a lengthened spine. So that would have been my inhale, right? And then as I exhale again, think lift, hinge, fold. Maybe I got a little further. Maybe my knees straightened out a little bit more. Maybe this or maybe that. So we're going to go one more time. Inhale, open up front side of the body, open up the collarbone, roll the shoulders back, lengthen the spine. And then as you exhale, draw the belly in, hollow out, think up and over into my forward fold. And this time I'm going to soften my knees even more. And like a rag doll, I'm just going to uncurl my spine really slow to come up to a standing position. So I'm going to straighten out my legs, straighten out my spine, bring my shoulders up and back, and then my head lifts the last. And now here I am again in something that should be relatively familiar to you in mountain pose. And then I'm going to go over all of those things. What can I do in mountain pose to get a little bit more in that better alignment? Those couple of forward folds and flat backs that we just did it change that hip? Did it change my torso, my shoulders, my neck, my legs? Did anything open up? Maybe yes, maybe no. Yeah? So we broke down our forward fold. We had a couple of options for coming up to our flat back. Let's do a couple and see what it does for our body. So let's pretend that we have come to mountain pose. So I'm just going to give you a breath or two just to kind of get into a nice settled mountain pose. I'm going to take a couple of breaths just to find my Goldilocks spot. Might need to wiggle jiggle a little bit, might need to sway. Find that grounding feeling in your feet. That's what's connected to the floor. Try to stack your body up as best as you can. It's not going to be perfect, but do the best you can. I'm going to finish my exhale. And now with my inhale, my arms are going to go up towards the sky as best as I can. Think long in the spine. Think like you're being pulled away from the ground, but you're not actually. That's all my inhale. And now with my exhale, start the belly in, that curving, hinge from your hip. You're reaching your hands forward and keep reaching until they start to go down towards the floor. And as I get to my fold, which option do I need for my hands? Right now, I'm touching my block. I'm allowing my head to relax. This is all my exhale. My inhale takes my torso up to that flat back. I'm using my hands in my shins to open up the collarbone a little bit more. This is my inhale. And my exhale is folding again. Maybe I'm going a little further. Inhaling up to your flat back. Maybe it's higher than where I am. Maybe it's lower. Try not to jam your hands right on your knees, either above or below, to get that long spine. Use your exhale, draw your belly in, fold forward, hinging from that hip. 2 more times like that. Inhale, open up the front side of the body, lifting the torso to where you are comfortable. Think long spine. And then as you exhale, spill yourself forward. Allow that head to relax. Hands touching something. 1 more. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. I'm going to take an extra breath here in my fold and just move around a little bit and see how it feels. So now I'm just gradually going to come up, really easy. Remember that rag doll analogy? I'm just going to roll myself up, super slow, super gentle. Just in case my head is a little wonky from being down below my heart, maybe I'm feeling a little dizzy. So I'm taking my time to come back up into a standing position. And again, I might need to move around a little bit to get a little bit comfortable, because sometimes those forward folds do kind of wreak havoc, especially if your body doesn't like being especially if your head doesn't like being lower than your heart, so you might feel a little funny. And again, we're working on everything. So I'm just going to come down to the floor. You can sit in your cross-legged position if you like. I'm not going to quite get into Shavasana because I'm just going to be here for a second or two. I'm going to use my block because I feel like it. It's right there. I'm going to use it. So even our forward folds and our flat back, they could already be challenging for you. And they seem pretty uncomplicated, and that's when I say they're easy. They may not be easy for everybody. So just remember, if you are finding that even that is difficult, that's okay. We all have different issues in our bodies. We all have different areas that are jammed, that are tight. For those of you who found the forward folds and the flat backs very easy, not challenging at all, don't think that they're useless. They still give you mobility in your spine. They work on opening up your hamstrings. So wherever you are, whatever you find easy or difficult, there's always somewhere that you can progress to. I'm constantly looking for more space out of my body. As soon as I open up a little bit, it's like a little treat. It's like, oh, I can do maybe I can find a little bit more. And that's why I like having all of those different modifications, all of those options, so that I can pull what I need on any particular day. So the forward folds, flat backs, again, a nice, easy, uncomplicated way to get a little bit more flexibility in your spine. Maybe unjam your back a little bit, maybe work on the hamstrings a little bit as well. So all of our poses, all of our movements, all of our asanas, they all have benefits, and you'll find that you like some more than others for whatever reason, but they all have some sort of benefit. So don't just dismiss one that seems too easy for you and think, oh, I don't need that. It's all part of a package deal. You kind of need a little bit of all of them. So usually after that, we're going into the next stage. From that would be into half sun salutations, full sun salutations, and we are going to work on our leg movements probably in the next video. We're going to start talking about our lunges, which are part of our sun salutations. So that's it for now. We'll work on that. And hopefully even those little movements, the forward fold and the flat back, might be helpful for you to unjam your back a little bit. So just like our cat-cows, very uncomplicated things that you could do. It doesn't really take a long time to do, 5 or 6 of those, or 10 or 20, whatever. Do as many as is comfortable for you. If you do one and you need a break, do one and take a break. And then maybe next time when you address it, maybe you can do 2 without taking a break. So the whole idea is to find the pace, find how much work effort is good for you on a day. Because we know that some days are good and we have lots of energy and we can do a lot of things. And then some other days, they're not so great. We don't have as much energy. And I always feel that the challenge is in those not so great days. The great days, it's like, yeah, I can do anything. No problem, go. It's what are you going to do on those days that you don't really have the energy? Are you going to be able to do anything? Or are you just going to curl up into a little ball and give up? Which some days that is the right answer, but I still want to do a little bit. So cat-cows, forward fold, those are pretty simple things that you can do throughout the day. Anytime, doesn't take a lot of energy, doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of space. So always, always, always find the modification that works for you and do what you can. Bye for now. We'll talk soon.